What's
What
good?
up? Everything. Nothing's on fire today.
It's a good thing, right?
Well, yeah, it's because I always like make that comment, like, oh, I got to run back to the office and like put out some fires. And
Yep.
then I might have to change that up because I got pretty intense pretty quick last week.
Let's see. Where do you think that function would be?
That's a good question.
How many participants can share at the same time? Who can share? All participants. Who can start sharing when someone else is sharing? I think I'm in the wrong thing here. Manage participants?
Maybe.
Mm.
Usually there's like, you'd think there'd be a button to say like, hey, click this to request permission. But
Oh. Participants right-hand side. Mute and more. Drop-down menu is more. Allow record.
Here we go. Host allows you to record. Boom.
Got it?
Get us figuring shit out as we go.
Look at you. Check out that hoodie.
I'm ready to hurt again, Ben. My period of mourning is over. I'm getting ready for the draft. I'm ready to go.
How much did that one set you back?
I don't want to talk about it.
You spent $100 on a hoodie, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, let's go with that.
Hey, man, nothing wrong with that.
Dude, if I showed you my Twitter DMs with NFL Shop to make sure that this got here by the proper date after it was delayed 3 times, you would think considerably less of me as a person. My patience was 0.
I got sucked into the biggest vortex this weekend. So I was listening, I saw a clip on Instagram on Gary Vee's story of this guy called Reezy Resells, R-E-E-Z-Y. He's a reseller. He dropped out of high school when he was 16. He got married when he was 17 and had a kid at 17 as well. 13 years ago, he learned how to flip books by going to local libraries and selling them on Amazon. He's done $5 million in the last 4 years just through Amazon FBA. So I got sucked into his stuff. I was skiing yesterday, so I was listening to his content. It was fascinating what this guy does. The point of my saying that is his content was so robust. He had his YouTube channel like decked out to the nines. You could tell it was done by category. It was done by length of video. It was done by category subject. It was insane. I would love to get half of where that guy is with something like this. It was awesome.
Is that the thing you tagged me in a couple minutes ago?
No, that was another one that I just saw. They call it like professional. I forgot what it is. I just ran into them too. I think it must have been. You know what it was? It was an Instagram story ad is what they did, and they nailed me. Absolutely nailed me.
You mean that shit actually works?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you how to do it because I don't know how to do it well.
Check it out.
Oh, that's crazy. No, that's good though. Kids are back in school, so I'm back kind of in the groove now. I just powered through the worst 5 miles of my entire life. So
that's saying something.
I'm a hurting unit right now, but I had to power through. So back in the saddle. Just
like Steven Tyler said.
That's right. Exactly. So what I was thinking was before when we were talking about stuff to talk about on Friday, here I'm going to call myself out first. I have done 0 with these clips. Nothing. I've done such a crummy job. And here's the problem is I literally have to plug in one HDMI cable with my editing PC upstairs, and I have not done that. So I'm going on record, literally, to say tonight I am plugging that in, I'm putting on my headphones, and I'm going to start chopping these things up. But my question to you, where I kind of wanted to start, was what would you do with all this content? Like literally, you yourself, what would you do with it? Who would you target? Like on Instagram story ads. And I'm super interested to hear your opinion about YouTube ads and LinkedIn ads because I know you're big on both of those things right now.
Yep. So I think, and it's the beauty of what we're doing and how we're doing it is that we're literally creating the opportunity and the freedom to do whatever we want with these.
Yep.
You know, typically when we sit down and we onboard a client and we kind of draw out their content and their branding and then eventually their ad strategy, there's a thought and there's an intent and there's a goal in place at the beginning. And constantly building towards that final destination there. Where what you and I are doing, I think it's a little bit different, and we touched on it a little bit. I can't remember if it's episode 2 or 3 when we talked about the fictitious pizza place, right? Where what you're creating the ability to do by doing videos like this is, after the content's down and recorded, and I think it's funny, you mentioned kind of, you know, dropping the ball, so to speak, but I think it just speaks to the benefit of doing it this way, where you can do that 2, 3, 4 weeks later and have it be just as valuable and just as relevant.
That's a good point.
You know, we're going to look at the different concepts that we talked about, different ideas and different points that we make. And then we're going to use those to plug into content plans down the road.
Right.
I think, you know, one of the biggest things that we talk about is literally, you know, building this plane as we're flying it, where, you know, what's our end goal with this? We don't know yet, because we're just, you know, I think the biggest end goal for both you and I, just for how long we talked about this before we even did it,
right,
just get it out.
Yeah.
You know, you have so much stuff up here that you just take for granted because it's what we do day in and day out and day in and day out. And then you have these random conversations with people and you're like, shit, there's value in all this for people.
Yep.
I think that's our biggest thing right now, is just get it out there. And then, you know, as far as what you do with it from a targeting standpoint, you know, I don't know that we're super dialed into the point, or, you know, have laid enough foundation where that's really a thought for us yet. You know, realistically, what I think you want to do with a show, like, let's just use this show as an example, is what we're doing right now is essentially creating that rabbit hole for people to go down 6, 9, 12 months from now. Yep. You know, if we get into it in 2 or 3 episodes from now, we get more into the tactical end of what we do, or success stories, then that becomes a tool for you and I to all of a sudden, okay, we want to get real serious about some of the co-branded stuff that you and I are doing together outside of this. Like, okay, me and Ben made really great points about the value that we create in these 12 seconds from episode 2, these 40 seconds in episode 4, and like that. And then we put that together, and then all of a sudden that becomes targetable content on LinkedIn, on YouTube, all that, at, you know, small business owners and GMs and all that across, you know, upstate New York or wherever we decide we want to go.
Yep.
You know, we cherry pick different pieces of content that we think are going to capture their attention, just like you. And then you hit them with that one Instagram ad where if they click on it, then they go to the YouTube channel, and then there's 39 episodes there.
Yep.
So that's what we're doing now, I think. I think we're creating that rabbit hole.
I agree. I got sucked in so hard to this guy's stuff because it was so fascinating, because I had about 3 people on my mind that I knew I knew could benefit from this. I mean, I listened to probably 2 hours of his YouTube videos, either walking the dogs or skiing yesterday. I was skiing by myself because the kids were off. And it was just fascinating to me. But you're right. If he had 3 videos, I would have stopped at 3 videos.
Mm-hmm.
But he had 300 videos that I got sucked into. You know, it's one of those things where that's why I love the platform, is because it's that passive consumption. So like, I was cleaning the house with the kids and I had one earbud in, so I could still have conversations. I wasn't hearing every single word that he was saying, but I was picking up enough to be like, this guy really knows his stuff. And I was picking up little things that what I would do is I'd grab it. Sorry. Can I mute that? What do I do? Can I mute my thing? But anyway, my point was, that's why it was so valuable to me, is because I could do other stuff while I was consuming it. It was super, super interesting to me. I mean, he went to Goodwill on a Friday night, and in 2 hours he made $1,700 flipping stuff. I mean, it's like, who couldn't use an extra $1,700, right? Like, that's a mortgage payment. Those are car payments. That's cleats on your kids' feet. I mean, that's all that stuff. But it was
Haven home from school today and just lock him in a room and make him watch all of it.
Right. But anyway, but my point was, I have my iPad right here. So the first 3 videos are his things now, because I'm just going to get spammed with his stuff. But yeah, he wouldn't have had that chance to get into my ear if he didn't make 300 videos. It was really fascinating. So let me ask you this. So we're going to have videos of between like 20, I would say like 20 and 40 minutes long is what I would say. And we're going to record on average. So I'm trying not to overthink this. When you go back and you would edit it, we've already talked about those 10-minute edits for LinkedIn, right? Kind of like those individual stories, because we usually tell about 2 or 3 stories on one of these. What other edits would you make? And where do you think those would go? Like the 1 minute, I think a 1 minute clip would be perfect for an Instagram story. I think a 30-second clip would be perfect if you or I went on the offensive, like on LinkedIn, and wanted to start DMing small business owners or general managers or whomever. What edits would you make, and how do you not go overboard with having like 75 edits from one episode?
Well, and that's the crazy part. I don't think there's such thing as us going overboard with having too many edits. I think that the best thing that you can do, in one of the reasons that, as 2 guys that have close to 0 free time, that we allocate an hour every week to do this.
Yep.
Because to just create that content library, ideally, if you had 75 different clips, and that's probably a little bit overkill, but there's no reason that we shouldn't be having 10 to 15 clips per episode that are all ripped and either combined with other ones or whatever. This is going to speak specifically to small business owner, solopreneur people that we think we could help. We think this is going to help people that are running bigger organizations with bigger sales teams and more employees.
Yep.
Just that little ticky-tack stuff where it's just going to resonate with people differently. Mm-hmm. There's not too much of that we can do.
Okay.
Because the more that you can relate and get contextual with people, like if we were really just putting everything all into that, we would make a list of the 20 different kind of businesses that we want to work with.
Right.
We would literally do an episode talking about each one, or a segment talking about each one.
Okay.
Because stuff like, even just thinking about the clients we have, and even some people that you and I work together on, I can think of 3 people right now, and it's going to be 3 drastically different pieces of content that's going to capture their attention on 3 different platforms and 3 different vibes, So just thinking about that, and like that's kind of the cool part about doing it how we are, where we don't necessarily have to sit down and write that out at the beginning.
Right.
We're going to be able to cherry pick stuff, because I can already think of it. There's stuff that we talked about episode 1, and there's stuff that we talked about in our most recent one that go like this,
Yeah.
So for us to be able to just be, okay, I want those 12 seconds and those 7 seconds,
mm-hmm.
and then maybe do super basic editing and say, hey, here's what's happening, boom, that's going out there, that we're targeting at these amount of people.
So
go ahead.
Would you almost categorize the clips? Or would you put in the title? I'm trying to think of this like 6 months from now.
Yeah.
We'll put together a montage of different strategies of how to sell pizza.
Yep.
We've talked about pizza in episodes 4, 7, 11, and 22.
Yep. We
want to grab that. So we would say, would you save that on your hard drive to say like pizza idea marketing, or how would that look in your mind?
So let's say 6 months from now, we notice that. Like, hey, we've talked about pizza in 6 different episodes.
Yep.
I would go through, I would yank all of that footage. I would edit it super quickly. It doesn't have to be the Mona Lisa, like I'm not Steven Spielberg. We're not going to be, that's fine. But what I would do is I would take all those, I would put them in one video, and I would title it, both in terms of the title of the video and the opening caption, 53 seconds that every pizza owner needs to see to know how to market in 2020. And I'll give you 3 guesses who I would target it at.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. You know, if say we're talking about, on multiple different occasions in multiple episodes, hey, here's why investing in helping your sales team build their personal brands is going to help your bottom line. Then we do the same thing. And then that becomes LinkedIn City targeted at businesses with X number of employees.
So then what you do is you just simply search. I'm just thinking super tactically. Then you simply search within that hard drive. Like I have an external hard drive that I'm dedicating just to this. So I'm going to search on that external hard drive, pizza. And those 5 clips will come up because we put pizza in those 5 clips. Okay.
And then that's the other thing too. I know that we talked a little bit about it on Friday before the office fictitiously almost catch fire. That's the kind of stuff where tactically what we can do, even on a slightly bigger, less drilled down level, is we could say, hey, both on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, we could say, hey, I want to take everybody that watches at least 10 seconds of this video or 30 seconds of this video. So like, we know if you're going to sit down in 2020 and you're going to watch 30 seconds of a video, like we talked about it the other day, like the kids won't watch 5 seconds of an advertisement. If you're going to watch 30 seconds of a video, you're in it, right?
Yeah.
So then what we could do is we could say, hey, I want to take everybody that watches at least 30 seconds of this, and we want to put them in this bucket to be able to target later. So that whatever we're doing down the road, we're constantly filling that bucket with a retargetable audience that we know have had enough interest in what we're doing and what we're saying to sit there and give us 30 seconds of their time.
Yep.
Which on paper doesn't sound like a lot until you actually break down what 30 seconds of internet attention looks like. That's absurd.
It is absurd. The only thing I can equate that to is when I was doing a tasting, like standing behind a table at a farmer's market or a wine festival or something like that. I couldn't tell you how many people came up to me. This is back when we used to do a lot of vlogs for the distillery. They came up to me and they said, I've watched every single one of your videos.
Yep.
Like open to close. I mean, it probably would take 3 hours to watch everything that I have on YouTube. Yep. And it's only going to get better now with this, but I was like, I would walk away, and that was like the highest form of compliment that I could have received. That somebody has consumed every single minute of your content. And it was just super basic stuff because I wanted to translate that there was a family behind the brand. That's what I wanted to show. I wanted to show the ups. I wanted to show the downs. I wanted to show how much Diet Pepsi I was drinking back in those days. I mean, it was like all of that stuff. And then somebody would just grab onto one little thing and they'd send me a text and be like, stop drinking 7 Diet Pepsis a day. It's not good for you. But I was showing it and they were consuming it. It was just flattering is the word I can use.
Well, and that's been one of the coolest parts about, I mean, we're what, 5 weeks into this?
Yep.
One of the coolest parts for me, just the feedback that you get on the platform that it's on. But no exaggeration, probably 24 people that have come up to me. I haven't seen them like anything. They haven't commented. They haven't shared. Visibly, no trace of them watching it.
Yep.
But they'll come up to me at an event or I run into them at the coffee shop next door. And they're like, hey, that show you're doing is really cool. When you and Ben were talking about like the whole mental health thing, like that fucking hit me, bro. And it's just like, that's been very eye-opening for me. Because as we talked about, for as much as we focus on content for clients, content we do for ourselves internally has always been severely lacking.
Yep.
So we don't do that nearly enough, but that has been very eye-opening for me, where you kind of speak to, for as data-driven and as trackable as so much of our stuff is, it's always just that qualitative, unseen power that your branding has that's so hard to communicate to a client, but when it's there. And even just seeing it in the 4 weeks that we've done this, you think about down the road, like, here we go,
Yeah. It's so hard because that's what I say, it's like you always say about getting in shape, building brand. Those are the impressions. Just because I don't hit like, guess what I'm still doing? I'm still scrolling.
Yep.
I'm still scrolling. I know who's active on the platform just by looking at it. Do I like or comment everything that they're doing? No. Quite frankly, I don't engage much on Facebook. I engage even less on Instagram. I'm doing mostly DMs on Instagram, but I see people there and I know what they're into. And I know, I follow a lot of like-minded people. I like to see what they're hustling on. That happened to me yesterday. I was at Toggenburg, and a restaurateur buddy of mine that I hadn't seen in like 8 months. He never once liked my stuff, commented on my stuff, anything. He goes, "Hey, what's going on with your son's footwear brand? And you and your dumbass buddies playing video games every Thursday night." I'm like, he knew exactly what was going on in my life without me having any idea whatsoever. It was just amazing to me.
And I think that's one of the reasons that, like, Facebook, I guess it hasn't been recently because it's been around for a while now. It's one of the reasons that they made a 3-second view on a video the equivalent of a like or comment or share, or just for, metric standpoints, that's an engagement now, because I'm sure that they got people that are much smarter than me and you that are looking at, hey, people are sitting there and watching it, but they're not necessarily going back and liking or commenting at the end, but they're still consuming it. And they're still, in a way, engaging with it because it got them to stop. So that's been real interesting to see how that's working so far. And then it's not hard to see how you can take this and then apply it to other stuff that we're already doing.
Exactly.
So it's been cool, man.
No, good. No, I appreciate it too. It was so interesting. I just did an Instagram rant. I did one of my, I always think of Mr. Sable when I have that stupid camera in my face. I just on my 5 miles, I had 3 separate experiences over the weekend, all of them negative from a customer service standpoint. And here's how I tied it together. I want your thoughts on it. So I went to a restaurant locally, one of my favorite spots. We go a lot. Food's always out of the ballpark awesome. Siobhan was served a very greasy, non-edible meal, is the way I'll say it. She, and for her and I, we've been in the business our entire lives, customer service and food industry. It takes a lot for us to send something back, a lot.
Yeah.
So she goes, "If I eat this, I'm going to get sick." She said, "I have to send it back." So we had the server came over and said, "How is everything?" And she goes, "As a matter of fact, it's not great." And the look that he had on his face almost made her feel like as if she had made the mistake.
Yep.
It made the transaction so awkward that it just made us just cringe uncomfortably. Now, he ended up taking full credit. Excuse me. He ended up taking half of it off of our bill, whatever. But so that was the first thing. The second one, we went to the boat show on Saturday. It's me, like literally my favorite thing in the world to do. And it is when I'm at my happiest, the entire family. So we go to the boat show, and there's 2 huge buildings of boats. There's probably 30, 35, 40 different booths that you go to. Out of 30 booths that we visited on Saturday, 4, exactly 4, greeted us when we walked into the booth. We walked past people that were doing customer service, and they didn't say one word. Now, they didn't know if I was in the market to buy a boat. They didn't know if I was going to buy a boat next year. They didn't know if Adam was going to buy a boat, and I was going to talk on this show to say, you should go to Owasco Marina, because they're one of the ones, or you should go to Freemac Marina up in Chittenango, because they were extremely friendly. And the third one was last night. I went to Tops to pick up, no, there you go. I just blew them out of the water. I didn't mean to do that. So I went to a local grocery store. We can post edit that, right? Went to a local grocery store. And I was getting whatever. It's like cereal and stuff for sandwiches for my kids' lunches. And the person checking me out, and the person bagging were both complaining about the manager because both of them had their hours cut in the same. It just made. I was standing there with my card, and I'm listening to this back and forth, and I'm going, is this uncomfortable for anybody else? Not only is it uncomfortable for me, it was uncomfortable for the person behind me. So here's what I said on my story this morning, or I'm going to post it later. I say this to my clients all the time. Put yourself in somebody else's shoes. How would you have wanted them to handle that differently? So from a very basic customer service standpoint, the server at the restaurant could have made that a much easier transaction if he had just thought about us. The people at the boat show, they're exhausted, they're tired, but you're one conversation away from selling another boat. Every single one of them should have said, hello, let me know if you have any questions. Yep. And last night, that is the reason that I will say that is the reason that Wegmans continues to be the number one supermarket in the world, because you would never ever hear anybody there complain about getting their hours cut. So this is what I tell clients all the time: is put yourself in somebody else's shoes and see how you think that would make them feel. So that's my Instagram story and how I would handle it.
Yep. One of the most timeless truths, and it's easy to apply it to marketing because that's what we do every day.
Yep.
But I think just in life is that the one thing people remember the most about you, whether it's a friend, whether it's a waiter, whether it's somebody at a boat show, whether it's somebody you run into getting coffee in the morning, the one thing they will never forget is how you made them feel.
Yep.
Straight up. You know, like, so if you look at the restaurant thing, for example, that was never about money.
Nope.
Coming off the bill. That was never about, this sucks, we're never coming back. Yep. You just wanted to be heard and to know that they understand it and that it's taken care of.
Yep.
You know, boat show, same thing. I think we've all been at events like that. It can be very awkward and very boring and very taxing and very difficult to talk to people every day.
Yep.
All day. But what are you signing up for? That is literally when you walk, and like that's where I think, and like that's a whole nother conversation about, a lot of times businesses will send their C team, not even the B team, to those things just to be there, when they should reality be sending the most talented, charismatic people that they have.
Yep.
And people don't think. It's how you made them feel. Like, it was never about who has the best boat, the best pricing and all that. But those are probably a half dozen to a dozen places that when you are buying another boat 3 years from now, they're not even on the fucking list.
Yep.
That's the impression, you know? And it's just crazy to see sometimes. Like, we've been there like with clients, and like we have customers in the room and they're just complaining about anything.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. Like, running a business is obviously hard. Mm-hmm. Everything that we have to deal with, you know, keeping customers happy, keeping staff happy, dealing with state taxes and regulations and, you know, suppliers not doing it. There's 1,010,000 things that can and will frustrate you throughout the day.
Yep.
But the second that a customer or a potential customer gets the feeling that you're not happy to be there, mm-hmm. and that you're not invested in that experience, yep. the best thing that can happen for you is that they just don't come back, and that's the end of it. Yep. The worst thing that can happen is, like you're saying, when we're talking about it on this show, that, dude, let me tell you what happened there.
Right.
Cool. Now you just lost 2 customers, and they're going to tell 10 more, and they're going to tell 10 more, and they're going to tell 10 more. Yep. Like that shit matters, mm-hmm. you know? And that's like where we tell people, especially just with what we do and the amount of customer feedback that we filter for clients, good and bad. Like, people think that we're nuts because even if somebody comments, yum, that looks good, they get a response from us.
Yeah.
You know, if there's something bad, even if the customer's wrong, like, they just want to be heard, and they just want to make it feel like we understand them. They don't care about a refund. They don't care about like replacement, whatever. They just want to be heard. And then that's it. But so many people miss that. And we're living at a time where, like, that conversation is happening. Whether we engage it or not, that's happening. So like, we may as well be a part of it. But, you know, sadly, it doesn't surprise me, because I think people are still getting used to the fact that whether they think everybody should or shouldn't have a voice, specifically on social or any kind of digital platform, like, it's there.
It's there.
And it's not going away. So, like, It's cringeworthy sometimes, but it's reality, you know?
It's unfortunate because, you know, people just don't think that way. They think about themselves first and not about other people. And this is what I tell people all the time is, you know, in terms of marketing, is what do they want to hear? It's not what we want to talk about. It's what do they want to hear? What's valuable? I've had people that have watched. I forgot to set up my live today, but I have people that have watched the live, which is me literally sticking my phone in front of my iPad with this. And I saw people at my, you know, the softball practice or whatever, like, oh yeah, I heard you guys talking about that. That's really super cool. But we never would have had the opportunity if we weren't there talking about what we think other people might find value in. That's the whole point. So
that's the thing. That's the thing too about putting that down is that part of everything that we do is going to be a different form of that.
Yep. Right.
You know what I mean? Where it's just the best thing that you can do is just listen and like see like we're going to go through this for like another 2 or 3 months and we're going to see what people respond the most to.
Exactly.
Like I know just for me, and it's like one of the reasons that like the 10-minute clip that gets posted on KBL's LinkedIn business page and the 10-minute clip that gets posted on my personal one are different.
Yep.
Because like personally, people like the most feedback I've gotten is just, you know, some of the internal, more vulnerable personal stuff.
Yep.
That we've talked about on here, and less about the tactical business end of it. Mm-hmm. Which is cool, you know, if that's something that the audience responds to and it's shit they want to talk about, like we're down with that.
Exactly.
So, and I think that that's a microcosm of successful marketing in general. And like conversations that we just had a meeting with a client last Thursday, I don't know, last week. Mm-hmm. And literally one of the things we talked about when they're like, hey, you know, stuff's going great. Like it was a great meeting. But at the end of it, they're like, hey, these 3 posts are kind of goofy. Like, I don't understand why you wrote them like that. And you used those emojis. And like, why that? Like that's goofy to me. And I'm like, to be honest, it's goofy to me too.
Yeah.
But these 7,000 people that saw it and the 400, like they liked it. And that's our job ultimately is how do we take what you're doing internally as a business and apply it to what they're going to respond to?
Yep.
You, John, business owner, and me, you know, 31-year-old dude, we don't always like the same things that they do, but it's not our job to do what we think is cool. It's our job to listen to them and make ourselves a part of their conversation.
That's exactly right. I just wrote down Anchor. So that was when I tagged you on that post.
Yep.
Those guys strip the audio and then they go on Anchor. So apparently Anchor, and I got to download the app. Anchor is basically like, my understanding is somebody described it to me as like Snapchat in audio form.
Yep.
Basically, I don't know much about it. I have to educate myself on it, but I think that's another platform that could potentially be really, really useful in this format, especially since Zoom strips out the MP3 portion of it and puts it in a different file. So you'll see that when you hit end record, it'll actually have a separate MP3. So I have to figure out how to get it. I have to figure out how to get it on. I have to create an Anchor account, download it, and figure out how to strip that away. But I think you can do it on desktop. But that's the fun part. This is the fun part. Building infrastructure to me is the fun part. And then once it becomes part of your, you know, it's like my walking. You know, it becomes part of your day. And I take client calls when I'm walking the dogs, and they know that I'm recording, you know, silly Instagram stories while I'm walking the dogs because it's a good use of my time. So as long as we just put it into the regiment, it's going to be all good.
And 100%, I think that's the other thing. The more places that you can, like, so like even just using already, like it's on Facebook, it's on LinkedIn, it's the full episodes are on our YouTube channel. You know what I mean? So like adding Anchor in to have a podcast end of it, like it all makes so much sense because it just goes back to, you know, different people consume stuff in different ways. Like I was just talking about it with a buddy who was in here on Saturday. He's a super big podcasting guy. And he downloads all of them. He has them like on his earphones. We're like, I'm just weird. Where like all of these podcasts live on YouTube at the same time. Like I'll just literally open the YouTube window, minimize it, and that's what I do.
Yep. I'm the same way. I listen to that.
Exactly.
Right. I listen to that Reezy Resell guy because I pay for like the extra $4.99 a month for YouTube so that I can minimize it on my phone and not have the screen on all the time, just so I can put the bud in when I'm skiing and ripping around. That's how I consume stuff. So I think for me, the takeaway is, again, I'm going myself on record. I'm getting those clips done starting tonight. I think the big ones for me are figuring out how to transcribe this in an interesting way for Instagram stories. I think the 10-minute clip on LinkedIn is super, super important. The full episodes on IGTV, which will be a download to my phone, and then upload to IGTV, because I don't think there's another way to do it. And then download Anchor and figure out the MP3 process of getting that up and going.
Anchor is pretty straightforward. I've been fucking with it for a couple months.
Okay.
It'll be no problem.
Love it. So those are my goals.
Sick.
This is fun, man. I appreciate this. I say it every week. It is one of the highlights of my week because it checks a few boxes. Number one, it gets a lot of this out, which is super important. Number two, we know it's the right thing to do for all of these reasons. And number three, it allows you and I to say to clients, potential clients, friends that want advice, whatever it is, just do what we're doing. Here's the game plan of what we're doing with our own stuff. And then I think the fourth one was, for me, acknowledging that doing your own thing between 9 to 5 is a perfectly good use of time. You don't have to wait until 9:30 at night to work on your own stuff. You know, like you said before, 8 o'clock, dial it back a little bit, you know, consume some garbage on TV, watch the NBA, play games on Twitch. Like those are okay things. So those are kind of the 4 boxes that it checks for me.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think just like we talked about, like just talking about it, for as basic and as duh as it sounds, I think it just helps mentally.
Yep.
You know, on top of that, and it's gotten easy. I get one more spam call, I'm gonna lose my.
My phone's over there. It's like 20 yards away from me. I'm like, just leave it.
So one of the things that it excites me most about is, and we've gotten much better with it, but just communicating to people the amount of investment that you have to make.
Yep.
Not just dollars, but time, energy, and patience into the branding end of what you're doing.
Yep.
I think to be able to kind of put that down and kind of drink our own Kool-Aid on that has already been insane for us. Yep. You know, whereas like we talked about it in the last episode, like what is this exact 34 minutes going to do for us? I don't know. When's it going to be beneficial? I don't know, but I know that it is. And I know that it is because I know just, you know, the kind of stuff that we're talking about. A, I don't think anybody else talking about it on that level. B, the fact that it's me and you, and I just think, not to sound cocky, but that level of talent and charisma and just entertainment, I think, is up there.
Yep.
And it's just, we see it with everybody. This is the kind of shit that generates momentum. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it's already happened 4 weeks in where we're like, hey, dude, what if we did this? Hey, what if we did it? And like, right. Then all of a sudden, you know, talk about making it part of your routine and part of your system. Whereas if we get to the point where like, okay, and like this week's kind of fucked up because of whatever, but like we want to release it literally at lunchtime on Monday.
Yep. Does
it become part of the system to do a separate Instagram story Monday morning? Super excited for this week's episode. Here's the shit we talked about. It was super enlightening. It's going to be on LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever.
Yep.
That just constantly feeds more and more and more and more stuff, let alone getting into the actual laying enough content down where you actually have a plan. Okay, we're going to start putting together these campaigns, targeting these audiences because we want them to become clients of X, Y, or Z.
Yep. Then
you get to have like, oh shit, this is actually going to help us make money too. Grow the business. What, like that's when stuff gets fun.
Right.
You know,
you can't do that until you do this.
100%. Right now, we're just doing we're the awkward guys in the gym that don't quite know how to use the machines yet, but we've been going. That's where I feel like we're at. You can't see it yet, but routine's there.
You even lift, bro?
We are 100% the do you even lift bros right now. That's what we're doing the show.
I love it. I love it. All right, I got to prep for a 1 o'clock. This is, like I said, this is always a highlight for me. And I'm going to go find that stupid HDMI cord tonight, plug it in, and get dialed in. So there you have it.
I'm 100% taking the first 30 seconds of this episode and putting you on blast too, just so it's on 2 different places.
Please do. I deserve it.
Teamwork makes the dream work, baby.
I'll ping you later, my man.
Can't wait.
All right. Be good.
Yes, sir.